From atop the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Mary Rodwell is recognized internationally as one of the world's leading researchers and writers in the UFO and contact phenomena. Mary is the founder and principal of Australian Close Encounters Resource Network, which was established in 1997 to provide professional counseling, support, hypnotherapy, and information to individuals and their families with anomalous paranormal experiences and abduction/contact experiences. Mary has researched more than 3,000 cases and suggests extraterrestrial encounters are a global phenomena, and this is evident in the new humans referred to as star children. She's going to be with us for the first 2 hours, and at the start of hour number 3, we do have to break into some breaking news here, because if you haven't heard, earlier today it was announced that back on July 3rd, the head of MUFON, Executive Director Jan Harzan, was arrested for trying to lure and sexual conduct with a 13-year-old child who happened to be a police officer. We're going to get more into that in hour number 3. I hate to get into that, but we have to discuss that. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, we'll join Drex in Vancouver and bring you the SOR Newswire and the thought of the day. Busy show tonight on the mighty SOR. Mary Rodwell, all the way from Australia. You are a legend in this field, and for you to come on this show and bless us with your knowledge, it is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for coming on.
Dave, it's an absolute pleasure, and I want to thank you for, all the work that you do and that others like you, because without your support for us who are trying to share the data, we would be at a loss. So I'm also extremely grateful. So thank you.
Mary, for people who may not be familiar with your work as being one of the leaders in the world, never mind just Australia, but the world when it comes to ET contact, why did you feel the necessity to spend your entire life looking into this phenomena and trying to figure out what is going on?
Dave, it's a very good question. And to be honest, I would never have believed when I was a nurse and a midwife all those years ago that one day I'd be traveling the world helping people who have contact with non-human intelligences, because I probably thought you were a bit crazy at that point in my life. The truth is that as I got into counseling, all sorts of counseling, from grief and bereavement, hospice, etc., and into the spiritual side of counseling, particularly, where people were remembering past lives and remembering things that we don't accept on this planet still, that we are multidimensional in nature. The thing that really came to me as being vital was when this lovely gentleman in his middle years came to my office and said, "Mary, I've heard you're open-minded. For this, there are no support groups. For this, they just think you're a loony," and proceeded to tell me about waking up with marks on his body, being aware he was taken up on spacecraft. And the thing that was so compelling, apart from the fact that this gentleman, obviously for me, looked very lucid and authentic, said that his partner and the children were having experiences too. Now, this takes it away from somebody ever fantasizing or imagining when you've got the whole family having experiences. And he said, and our relatives won't come to the house because they're afraid it's demons. And that was really the beginning of the rabbit hole for me, and has started me on this journey for the last 25 years. And particularly because it seemed to me, as Ellis, and his name's Ellis Taylor, he's an author in his own right now, a really good friend of mine who lives in England. And, you know, that was really the start of me getting involved because, as Ellis said, there was so little support for this kind of experience, particularly 25 years ago.
Okay, so when you heard that first experience, and you'd never really been involved in this field at that time, what was going through your head when you all of a sudden start hearing this story of UFOs, weird lights, aliens from another planet?
Well, it's interesting how the universe works, isn't it? I'm one of these people that, has always been interested in the mysteries of life, always interested in the weird and the wonderful, right from a small child. So I'd read books on all sorts of things. And, in other words, if it was weird and wonderful, I'd usually got a book on it. But I literally picked up a couple of books only a few weeks prior to Ellis coming through the door. And one of them was Abduction by Dr. John Mack, who was a professor of psychiatry at Harvard University. Sadly, he died a few years ago, who wrote, as I say, Abduction, Human Encounters with Aliens, and then Passport to the Cosmos, where he was absolutely convinced after he'd worked with experiencers that this was valid and this was real. And also, of course, the well-known Communion by Whitley Strieber. I happened to read that book as well. And it was the absolute synchronicity of it that within a few weeks of that, I really thought this was a very unusual, unique kind of experience. I never in a million years expected someone to walk through the door and tell me they'd had experiences. But what was so fascinating after reading these accounts, and then with Ellis, 2 weeks later, another lady walks through the door and she tells me that she's having experiences with these beings and what have you. So there you go. I was doing advanced counselling at the time and took this case study to this Worsley Institute where I was doing advanced counselling. And I thought it was very courageous of me to present Ellis's case, thinking that they'd probably say, well, he's either fantasy prone or he's crazy and I ought to refer him to the nearest psychiatrist. But what was fascinating about the group, the supervising group of that counselling, they started to tell me about their own weird and wonderful experiences, hauntings and all this. So in fact, it wasn't like, well, we think he's crazy, but that they had strange experiences too, which further confirmed to me there was a whole new area of human experience that needed to be looked at. And as a counsellor, my job is to support experience, whether or not it's considered by some real or not real. For the person that's having it, it changes their lives. And if it changes their lives, then it's real.
I understand that. So here you are hearing these strange phenomena, and I always kind of laugh when somebody brings up Whitley Strieber's Communion, because that is the one book that I have never finished. One book. It scared me. And so, I mean, little did I know that a few years later that I would become an experiencer myself. So maybe it was just prophecy where I ended it. I don't know. But the fact is, a lot of people always got their start around that book or with John Mack and his incredible work into this phenomena before he passed away. So Mary, when you look at some of these leaders that kind of led you into learning about this phenomena, how stunned were you to find that this was something that was, to a lot of reports real and just moving forward and people didn't know what was going on? I mean, this is right out of sci-fi.
Absolutely, Dave. And remember, I come from a very conventional background in my medical profession and also counseling. I had never come across anything other than people who had said they'd seen spirits. Or they'd sensed mum or dad after they died. This kind of thing I was familiar with, but I certainly wasn't familiar with the extraterrestrial side of it as well. So it was a huge learning curve, and I connected with, interestingly, a social worker. And the social worker and myself sort of teamed up because she'd seen three beings in her lounge room, which looked like mantis beings, and she thought she was going crazy until someone came through the door, a friend of hers, and said, "Oh, do you realize you've got three strange beings in your lounge room?" And she said, "You can see them as well." And this started her off in realizing this was relevant to her. And so we decided to advertise for people who might be having this experience. And in our very first advertisement, 12 people turned up. And this is in Perth, Western Australia, which then only had about 1 million people in the city. So, this blew us away. And then as I researched more and realized that many people with these experiences just didn't know that this is what it was. They would think they were crazy. They would think that there was something wrong with them in some way or other, because nobody else maybe could see the beings or whatever, were very frightened of being judged with it, and really afraid to go to the conventional psychologist or psychiatrist in case something happened to them. And of course, in my book, Awakening, one of the most profound first cases I had of a young woman who at 14 had told her doctor that she was seeing aliens. And he said, well, he diagnosed her as schizophrenic and put us on this huge number of tablets and medications where she tried to take her life several times. And at 19, she found me and said, Mary, I think I'm having these experiences. I've seen a talk show on television from America, and there are people that have seen aliens like I have. Yet the doctors always said there was something wrong with me. And I write about her story, Kathy, I call her. And it's for her to finally come to terms with the fact that everything she'd been told by her doctors and psychiatrists was that she was ill, mentally ill, to find out that maybe she wasn't mentally ill at all. And what she was seeing was real, was the huge paradigm shift for her. And that was why actually I wrote Awakening, which was a way of giving people a process to work through with all the questions of how do I know this is real and I'm not crazy? What do I do about the fear? What do I do if the kids are having these experiences? What do I do if I start seeing more and more of, energy fields and lights and beings and spirits and all these kinds of things that happen more and more as you open up to your contact experiences?
Mary Rodwell is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Mary, as you started to look into this, how blown away were you by the fact that so many people were having these extraterrestrial experiences? I mean, this had to be a big game changer for you, as you had mentioned a little bit earlier. But did you think the phenomena was that prevalent?
Dave, to be honest, I certainly didn't think it was prevalent when I first started out. I did realize there was more out there than the numbers that I thought were likely, because I still thought it was extremely rare. But what I found out that was interesting was that this was intergenerational. In other words, if I had someone who had experiences, often brothers or the siblings, one or more of the siblings might be having experiences. Then I discovered their parent, either their father or their mother, might have had experiences. Then their grandparents. They may say, my granddad was always into UFOs or whatever it was. When you see the intergenerational links, and that it may not be just one person in a family, but in fact it's more likely to be a family affair, then the numbers start to get exponential. And the fascinating thing for me now is that I'm contacted by people from all over the globe, from Uruguay to Russia to Africa and Asia, with them telling me their story and about their parents or grandparents or whatever, or their young children having experiences and what have you. Now, you put that all into families, so you've not just got one person then, you may have 5 or 6 that are actually having some form of experiences. And then it was, well, how big is this? How many people are actually having the, various forms of contact around the globe? Because for some, it's very in your face. It's the being coming in the middle of the night. You're seeing a being, you can't move, you're being taken somewhere, which is the kind of classic contact. But a lot of forms of contact are a lot more subtle than that. And we've discovered now as well, through the research that we did with the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Free Foundation, when we organized a survey of 4,200 people with 600 questions, and what we came from their answers, and it was all conscious recall, that we discovered only 25% of their experiences are physical and 75% are actually out of body. So it's much harder to quantify and realize that this is real, because, you know, we still live with a psychology that says unless you can physically touch it, see it, feel it, hear it in our senses, that it's not real, when in fact we are a multidimensional being. And for many, they'll go out of body to these craft or to other planets and have experiences, not always physically. So it's much harder to qualify and quantify that in the same way as we would what we call the human experiences. But this is what makes it so fascinating. And then it became clear that there was a global, and I'm saying that after 25 years of looking at this is a global shift in awareness that's happening now. And more people are waking up to this kind of contact. And it doesn't all, you know, it isn't all the same. For many people, it can be a lot more subtle. And for others, it can be really in your face, depending, I think, on what I call your soul journey. For some of us, you know, we decide to dive right in, where others do not need to have that kind of in your face kind of experience. But the bottom line is, when people say to me, how do you know it's real? And I'll say, I'll tell you how I know it's real. It's real because people change in dramatic ways after contact, from the way they, you know, their diet, the way they look at life. They lose interest in materialistic values. They start to want to explore their spiritual selves. They start to want to care for the planet. They completely change their focus in life. And that doesn't happen after a fantasy. That only happens if something profound has occurred in your life.
Mary Rodwell is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Mary, you know, with the experiences that people have had, you have done over 3,000 cases. Are there any similarities that you are seeing within these cases, whether it's children or adults, or whether it's male, female, transgender, whatever it may be? All right. What is the similarities that you have noticed?
Well, in terms of similarities, one of the things that has been really important is, and I have put together a questionnaire that takes in more of what would not be considered as tangible, and that is the sense that people have that they're not from here, that they find being on Earth very difficult. These are what we call the sort of star kid profile, and it's not just kids now. We're talking about adults, you know, as that getting on in their senior years have told me the same thing. They've always felt different. They felt they've not belonged. They have struggled with Earth being a bit very barbaric or very primitive, and knowing that they've come from somewhere else. And as I say, this isn't just the children. This is something they've sensed or felt, but never articulated. So all these kinds of things I put together as a valid part of working out whether or not you're one of the more awake humans. Because the interesting thing is, when you get a 5-year-old saying to their mother, you know, you're not my real parents, my parents are in space. And this is something so many have said, I don't feel, you know, you're here to look after me, but my other parents come from somewhere else, and not necessarily human, I might add. As an 8-year-old explained to me that his real family, his ancestors, were the mantis beings, and that he will go back to being a mantid when he dies. They're his ancestors. So you get these incredibly fascinating and yet confusing and bewildering understanding that many people have always felt they didn't belong here, that Earth wasn't their home, for example. And this is all sensing, knowings and feelings that they've never articulated to anyone, afraid that people just think they're crazy if they feel like this or sense like this, sensing they're on a mission, sensing that you know, this planet always has felt too dense to them. And to give you an example of how concrete or 3D this is, I was speaking to a 10-year-old only a few weeks ago, and he told me he was visited by light beings and that he himself comes from a planet of light, where he said you can instantly manifest. He said in Earth it's a bit more of a game. He said it's harder to manifest here. And in fact, I asked him about what he thought was happening on the planet now. And he quite casually said to me, Mary, this is the reset, which I found quite fascinating coming from a 10-year-old boy. But this is the kind of information these children are talking about, is not only do they know why they've come, that they've got a mission and purpose. Like one 10-year-old also, this is another 10-year-old who lives in Australia, told me about the planet he came from, that he was a blue being. He drew the image of this blue being and then said, this is my very first incarnation on planet Earth, but I'm here to help with the pollution on this planet. He knew completely in detail what his job was and why he'd come to this planet. What I'm seeing, if you want to know the patterns, what I'm seeing is each generation of this lineage of we call the star being or star kids or star seeds, is that each generation seems to be a little bit more awake, a little bit more aware, a little bit more connected to these visitors we call the star ancestors, that I believe are part of our genetic makeup in the dormant DNA, that I believe now is being activated. And so more and more people on this planet are becoming aware of their, if you like, their star origins or their lineage off planet, which I think is really the bottom line here for me.
We've got about 90 seconds before we have to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, Mary Rodwell is our guest tonight. Mary, I know a friend of mine who has a daughter who's now 21, but since the age of 2, she had been saying that she lived on a boat that sank in the water, that being the Titanic. All right. She even brought up her own name as a youngster before she had even knew what the Titanic was. I believe in that. Okay. But how do we believe in 1 minute? Maybe we got to carry this over. How do we believe a child who says, you're not my real parents? My real parents are from space.
Well, that's one that really needs a little bit more time than a couple of minutes. But it's the way that they say it, that with that kind of authenticity, that the parent themselves knows that this child is not fantasizing. And most parents will know when the child is making something up or just saying something for effect, and when they're really coming from their heart, from that knowing. And that is how they often will appear. It will come spontaneously without any front loading, as I call it.
Well, I think we should continue this conversation when we get back from the break, because I think as parents, you know, I have 3 kids, and I think we all have seen our children do or say something that is just very out of the ordinary, something that they just wouldn't talk about. And most of the time, we seem to just dismiss it. But maybe we shouldn't. Mary Rodwell is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're talking aliens, ET contact, extraterrestrials, star children, star seeds. What does this all mean? Well, we have one of the best in the world talking about it tonight in Mary Rodwell, right here on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thorne, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know little brother is watching.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Good to have all of you with us tonight. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with one of the best, and I'm going to call her a legend in the field of ufology and extraterrestrial contact. Mary Rodwell is with us tonight. Mary, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Mary, right before the break, we were talking about children and the fact that, you know, some children that you have discussed with in regards to ET contact say to their parents, "You're not my real parents. My real parents are from the stars or from space or from wherever they may be." You know, when you look at children 2, 3, 4, 5 years old making these comments, yes, children have an incredible imagination, and it's very easy to write this off as being imaginary. But how do we know it's real? How do we know as parents that this is not our child making up something strange?
It's a good question. And what I would say is most parents know their child, and they know when the child is fantasizing, or they know when the child is coming out with something unusual or profound. To give you an example, I was speaking to an 8-year-old who was telling me about his family being the mantid. And he talked about going up on a spacecraft with 2 of his school friends. He explained how he was being shown and taught and educated on board spacecraft using his mind with his school friends and some other children, which I said to him, so can you tell me about the other children? And I said, were they all like you? And he said, no, some were different. They looked a bit like us, but their eyes were different, so they weren't quite the same. He explained to me how he used his mind to create things, and they were shown how to do it. And he said, and it's very complex. So I said to him, so you're saying some of the information is very complex? He said, yes. So I said, could you tell me? He said, no, because it's too complex for you. Now, you don't expect an 8-year-old to say that to you, and certainly I don't. I'm a grandmother of 6 grandchildren, and I've got 3 adult children of my own. I know how children respond, and that was certainly, completely out of it. The other thing that was fascinating was he told me that sometimes when he goes on board the spacecraft, he said, I evaporate, is the term he used, into this mantid form. In other words, his that's how he explained his consciousness or his awareness moved into this other form for a time. And I said to him, how does it feel? And he says, oh, it's a bit strange, he said, but it was, something that happens sometimes. So the interesting thing was when I also said to him, did you ever talk to the other 2 children that you saw up on the spacecraft from your school? And he got very upset then. He said, no, I wanted to, but Mum wouldn't let me. And his mum pipes up and says, well, I was afraid that they'd all think it was too strange, so I couldn't let him do that in case he had a hard time. So, that to me, when I ask questions and I asked for detail, and this is what's fascinating, is they'll give you the detail. And it's not like they're imagining it. They'll explain it to you and what they saw. The same happened to an 8-year-old that really wanted to talk to me after she knew I was interested in the US, and her mum organized a Skype with her. And she explained to me 2 days previously, she'd been taken to a planet by these beings. She was shown how to levitate and use her third eye awareness, and then said to me, oh, and they showed me genetic engineering of different species, Mary. And I said, and did they say why? And she said, oh, yes, this is to do with them seeding planets and also to take these to other dimensions. Now, you tell me of an 8-year-old that can respond with that spontaneity, with that depth of information, describing exactly what's going on. That, to me, is no coincidence. This isn't a fantasy. This is someone who's describing their experiences.
Mm-hmm. With children, how do we know if they're connected? What signs should we look for?
It's a very good question, Dave. And one of the things that is that they come out with extraordinary information. You know, one of the fascinating things is when parents write to me and they really don't know quite what to say sometimes about their child, other than what they're coming out with is really strange and unusual. I was talking, one lady I've got to know very well was a former air hostess who's got 4 children, and each one of them has had experiences, including herself. And she was explaining to me, her 10-year-old explained about one of his experiences, which she said was like a recall of before he incarnated. And he did this drawing of it, of a being with a big head and black eyes, and like 4 little, almost a class where he's one of the beings in the class. And he said it was like a white class, white surroundings with this being with a big head. And he said when he graduated, he could choose if he wanted to come to Earth or to another place. So he did the drawing of it. And this is what I often ask is if the child has had an unusual experience, can they draw what they see? And you get the typical drawing of the big head, the black eyes. It might be a blue being. It might be a mantis being. It might be an energy being. And these are, you know, one of the most compelling sides of this is when they come out with this kind of detailed information. One of the most fascinating was a drawing done by an experienced friend of mine, Tracy Taylor. And what was fascinating, the parent, and she's in the US, by the way, and these complex drawings that she did are in one of the DVDs I produced. And what was fascinating about them, the mother of these 2 children, one was 7 and one was 4. And without front loading either of them, she just showed them the pretty pictures that this lady had drawn. And both of them independently said, oh, they come from the aliens. And then what scared her more than anything, and I'll actually read this to you because to me, it was absolutely fascinating that this 7-year-old explained in detail what these 3 pictures were. One was called Ancient Future, another Evolutionary Creation, another one Possibility. He said this to his mother. Remember, he's 7. They contain information about aliens. The pictures contain images of harvesters of energy, machines which harvest the sun's energy. There are different types. Other pictures contain information about aliens. One is about the 7 who will be coming. They are eagle people and cat lion people. They have ancient messages. And then he goes on to talk about the portals around the pyramids. And he explains that they're all over the world, these pyramids, and a lot of them are portals. And this is where the craft come in, or the aircraft come in. And she says, so there are other types of teleportation, he mentioned. And she said, other than the big pyramids, like Pyramid of Khufu. And he goes, yes, in the side of the hill, I mean other teleport places on every continent. Now, you tell me a child at 7 who can go into detail like that and pick this information up from images he'd never seen before.
Interesting. So as this person is seeing images that he's never seen before, what's he looking at? What's he drawing? What's coming out of his own mind that is absolutely incredible?
What's happening is the children, because they're not programmed out of it yet, are able to access more of what I call the multidimensional information encoded in a lot of the drawings that those who have contact are downloading, for want of a better word. Many of those that are having experiences, they start doing strange symbols or scripts. They may start doing unusual drawings, not only of the beings, but strange complex drawings. The others are downloading different kinds of frequencies through music. Many of them find themselves really creative and saying, I don't know where it comes from. I just go into this relaxed space and it comes through me. All of these different ways of accessing this kind of information. The children, because they're not programmed into a linear thinking, because they're young enough not to yet be programmed, can access this, what I call multidimensional information, and they can, and sometimes actually interpret it. And some of the things that have blown me away, Dave, I have to tell you, when I talked to a 7-year-old whose mother wrote to me and said, Mary, in your book Awakening, there's a strange script that Tracy Taylor's written. She came up to me when I was reading it, and she looked at the script and said, Mom, I can read that. And the mother said, can you? She said, oh, yes. So she proceeds to read this strange symbolic script. And her mother, I asked if I can speak to her over Skype, and this gorgeous little 7-year-old. And I said to her, your mum tells me that you can read this script in my book. She said, oh, yes. I said, can you do that for me? Oh, yes. So she says, do you want it in the language or do you want it in English? So I said, could you do both? Oh, yes, she goes. So she proceeds to read it to me in this language, which we call the star language or the light language. She then translates it into English. And then I said to her, so where does this come from? She said, oh, this one comes from the Greys. Quite spontaneously, she knew exactly. From that time, I also tested her again a few months later with a whole range of different scripts. And she told me some she couldn't read. She couldn't understand them. But there was one that she agreed that she could read. And she seemed to be reading it almost diagonally. She did the same thing. She read it in a language. She translated it and then told me it came from the mantis and from the Greys. Now, this is a 7-year-old we're talking about that could do that quite spontaneously. Now, that is pretty compelling, Dave.
I can see that, Mary. The only question that I would have, and please allow me to ask it, is in regards to, the internet. I look at what my son is doing. My son is 7 years old. He plays Minecraft. He plays, we watch what he plays and everything like that. But I mean, he goes on YouTube. He goes on and watches some videos, and he looks at dinosaurs and sharks, and the odd time an alien thing comes up. How do we know that our children are not getting a lot of this information off of social media type sites or video games?
It's a good question, Dave. And I think the compelling part to this is the detail that they have that they wouldn't see in cartoons, or they wouldn't see at that age. They wouldn't be looking at complex understanding. For example, when I talked to one 9-year-old that explained to me that he came from the planet Orion, that he was a light physicist that worked on time travel technology, he then told me that when he goes to certain sacred sites, he has downloads of information from those sacred sites, and explained to me how the pyramids worked with having it had to be pure water, it had to be around the pyramid, and that it had to be with consciousness. Now, you can't tell me that kind of information came through the internet or anything else. This is a completely different process in the way they're not parroting it. They're saying it from that innate awareness that they have. And as I say, not all of these children watch TV, I might add, because many of the parents don't want the children exposed to too much TV and what have you. And we all know why that is. And so this may come very much from families that, sometimes they're homeschooled, or they have absolutely no exposure to this kind of information. And the parents often tell me that, they'll say, I've never said anything to my children about this kind of thing. I've never seen them look at anything like this, and it scares them. That's the interesting thing, is it actually scares them, Dave. But, you need to hear enough of it for it to become compelling.
I think it's easier if you're an experiencer yourself, because you could tell the definition on what's the movie Transformers compared to real aliens coming into a child's bedroom.
Absolutely. And when they talk about the different kinds of beings that they have been or have seen that are not on, mainstream programs and what have you, let's face it, you get a little green alien, or you get a little blue or a little black one, or the Greys, and you might get some looking like mantis or whatever. But, there's a whole range of lion beings, crystalline beings, energy beings that people are seeing, all different kinds of humanoids and what have you. And these children have an innate connection to them, and they'll talk about their relationship with them. And I remember she was 12 when she told me that when she's in the classroom, she's always got a little being standing there, and that when the teacher says things that aren't accurate, this being will explain to her what's accurate and what's not accurate, that she has a dialogue with this being so that she actually knows what's the truth and what's not the truth. I mean, the interesting thing was, too, when I was talking to a 7-year-old in a group, firstly, he was in a group, but told me this on the quiet. And he said to me, now, again, it's hard for someone to take this on board right away. And all I say is go and look up the information and what the children say, which I write about in at least 9 chapters in The New Human. Some of the information is in-depth information that's coming out. But this 7-year-old quite spontaneously said to me, do you want me to speak dolphin to you? And I said, that would be lovely. Thank you. And then he proceeds to do all the clicks that you hear with the dolphins. And then he said, I can tell when people are lying and when they're telling the truth. And I said to him, so how do you do that? How does that feel? And he said to me, well, when they're lying, I go all cold. And when they tell the truth, I go all warm. Now, where would he get that, Dave?
That I don't know. That's where I wonder how much of it, especially lately, like I could see this happening and, going back 30 years when the main extraterrestrial that was on TV was Marvin the Martian. Okay, I could see that. But with today and the internet age, I find it baffling, Mary, and I'm not trying to discredit your research because I know you are extremely thorough, but, that internet, the way we as parents allow our children onto the internet at such an influential young age, it just seems that it could be a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit more infested in them, the knowledge they are learning from places like YouTube or just kids' internet sites.
And I agree that there's a great deal of information that kids can pick up. Let me go back up a little bit. The reason this is even more compelling to me, not only from what the parents say, is I'm being accessed by clinical psychologists, by educators, some of them from all over the globe, that are seeing these children and recognizing that they're different and saying to me, how can I help them in a traditional model of psychology, for example, or as a teacher, because they're picking up stuff that I'm thinking. I remember one of the letters with a very distressed mother, and she said, look, my daughter, when she was born, appears to be telepathic, that she's tapping into me and those around me. And more I can see that she's doing that. She said, do you know how hard it is, Mary, to hide your thoughts from a child? Now she's 3 years old and she's still doing it. And it's really hard to hide what you're thinking from this child. She's not unusual. Many of these children admit that they can pick up other people's thoughts and what have you as well. So a lot of these things, certain more open-minded clinicians, clinical psychologists and teachers that I have met are seeing these children in the classrooms, and they're coming from a far more objective clinical perspective, but are absolutely certain that we need a new way now of supporting these children that are multidimensionally aware in the way that they are and what they understand. And this is not, as I say, so this is not me just looking at the testimony of a few children with their parents. We're talking about clinicians from several clinical psychologists from various parts of the country, in the US and UK, for example, but also in South America, etc., and also educators that are starting to see this is a new type of child, a new generation of aware child. So it's not just my research now, but being accessed by professionals that also understand these children who are tuned in, if you like. And in my book, I actually mention a few of them that have accessed my research and said, look, I'm seeing these children in the classroom. I know they're different. And some of the things they're doing is completely unusual to what I call the norm.
Mary Rodwell is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Mary, I want to change subjects a little bit here because there is a lot of talk about children from the light, star children, indigo kids. How does this all break down? Are they one of the same?
I think they are all showing us that we have a new generation of human that is a lot more awake and aware. The differences in labels depends on the kind of awareness that they have. Just like some of us are good artists and others are musicians and others are scientists, you've got children with different abilities. And for them, some of the labels that have been put out because they don't operate in the same way as the older generations are given labels like ADHD, Asperger's, some forms of autism and dyslexia. And my research seems to suggest that there's a new kind of wiring that's going on, so they appear dysfunctional to some people or don't appear to operate well. That is because they're wired differently and they have another kind of awareness, so they don't take too well in that limited 3D programming that we call school and belief systems of the 3D world.
Okay, so with that, as a star child or an indigo child or whatever we call these specialized children, how do they think differently than, say, a child who is not considered this? And I'll add a secondary question to that, if you don't mind. Are they hybrid children?
Right. Both of those I can answer. I'm just looking at the time, but okay. Yes, they think differently because a lot of them are educated on board spacecraft or taken out of body to other places. So they're educated with a whole range of subjects from the true origin of the species right down to quantum physics. And this is what they will often download and present to their parents, for example. So their thinking is different because they have a multidimensional awareness. They are seeing so much more of the reality that most of us average humans don't. For example, Dr. Lena Olson, a molecular biologist, has tested them for such things as touch, and they are 6 times more sensitive to touch. Their hearing is a lot more sensitive. Their sight, for example, their physical sight, we only see 1% of the visual spectrum. They see a broader spectrum of light, for example. That's why they can see spirits and orbs and energy fields and beings, etc., because they have this greater visual spectrum. But not only that, they're having access to the information that's downloaded from these many intelligences they're connected to. And yes, many of them see themselves as hybrids, simply as one 16-year-old young lady in Spain told me, that what's happening with the ones that recognize the hybridization is that there's more ET genetics in her than in some of what we call the more average humans. So, I believe we're all hybrids because of the connection we have to many of these so-called gods of old that came down and interbred with us. But these have a little bit more of that genetics, or this is what they're telling me.
Mary Rodwell is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to continue talking ET contact, hybrids, children, everything to do with extraterrestrials. Have you been in contact? She has studied more than 3,000 cases of ET contact, from children to adults to seniors. We're going to learn more. I told you this would be a knowledgeable night on ETs. Let's continue that in hour number 2 next on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best-rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate you taking the time, especially if you're listening in on one of our terrestrial affiliates across North America or digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. I don't know how to pronounce this one. Witenjimo. I know I got that wrong. Witenajimo. I know I butchered that. Okay, but the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Yeah, we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we are talking with one of the top researchers in the world, people, in the world, when it comes to ET contact. She is legendary in this field, and, you know, we're so proud to have Mary Rodwell on as a guest tonight talking about ET contact, children, our own selves. How do we know it's happening? She is amazing. Her research is everywhere from YouTube, on the internet, books in every major bookstore and online. Mary, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave. It's also been really wonderful to be able to share, and you've asked some really excellent questions.
Thank you. Almost like I'm a contactee. I don't know if I am or not, but no, I'm teasing. But it's the way it goes. I got to ask you, Mary, for people, and I'll use myself as an example, because we were just talking about this during the break here moments ago. All right. I haven't had contact in a long time. I haven't seen a UFO in a long time. I feel like I've dried up. I'm like a prune now when it comes to UFOs. I'm all shriveled up. All right. How do I get that back? I want some contact again.
Well, Dave, what I would say to you is this. There seems to be a program for each person in terms of their contact. And for some, they may go a number of years where it goes quiet, and that may be because there's a lot going on, almost like they're left alone to get on with some of the human stuff. And then when there's an agenda or something's happening, then it all starts up all over again. But in the meantime, just remember what the research was showing us, that sometimes we're having contact, but it's out of body at night in what people believe to be dreams. And I always talk about the dreams that are not dreams. When they say to me, look, I had a dream about being on a spacecraft. And I said, what made you think it was a dream? Because often what happens with these experiences is that, normal dreams you forget within minutes usually of having them. Whereas if it isn't a dream, because you're in a trance state, you still remember that particular experience. So a lot of the time they're not dreams. You're actually busy out of body on craft or going somewhere else, and you're not aware of it. So you don't always have to have the very tangible side of it unless they feel in some way it's important.
All right. I just want to fly on a ship. I have been manifesting that for the last couple of years. I'm done with this sleep time stuff taking me at night. Okay, I've had that enough. All right. I want to be standing on my patio after the show. All right. Just staring up at the stars, and all of a sudden the ship come down. All right. Maybe it's a little romantic. I need some music for this. I wish I had some. But, I want to be there. I got a big backyard. My area is dark, perfect landing spot. And I want to walk up to the ship, wide awake. And I want to go for a ride. I keep manifesting that, trying to manifest it. I haven't been able to yet. And I'm getting a little angry about this because I think I deserve it. After everything I've been through and doing this show and everything, I deserve it, Mary. I deserve it.
Well,
I don't ask for much.
Look, Dave, you be careful what you ask for. I will tell you a little anecdote that makes me wonder whether there was something going on with me once. And it was when I first got into all of this. And my daughter, one morning, I was busy making my usual cup of tea, and she said, Mum, I had a dream about a spacecraft last night. And she said, and it landed. And she said, we were all standing there, Mum, you included. And she said, and this little being came out and said, do you want to ride? And she said, Mum, I stepped right back. I wasn't in the least interested in going for a ride. She says, but you, Mum, you put up your hand and said, you can take me, you can take me. And the interesting thing was, as she's saying that, Dave, I looked down and my nose is bleeding. Now, for anyone who knows about ET contact, often nosebleeds usually suggest something went on. And I couldn't believe it that she'd said that. And the next thing is I'm looking down and I'm saying, oh, my goodness. Maybe I did go for a ride after all. And I'm like you, Dave. Now I want to shake the hand. I want to touch that craft, and I want to be conscious the whole time. So you can pull me in on that party when it happens, because I'm quite happy to join you.
Well, let's do that. If it happens to you, you got to fly to British Columbia and pick me up, and vice versa. Can we make a deal right here?
Absolutely. I'm with you on that one.
Perfect. Thank you. Kathari in our chat room has a comment here, or a question. Mary, what signs might there be in our lives that we have hybrid children out there somewhere?
That's a very good question. And one of the things is, and I wrote about it in Awakening, is the missing pregnancy syndrome, where many women have felt pregnant for a short time, maybe only a month, sometimes 6 weeks or something. They may even have all the symptoms. They may not have had any kind of intimacy with anyone either. So they can't really say, well, I'm pregnant, but they feel pregnant. Then all of a sudden, almost overnight, all the symptoms go, and they go back to normal, except for many of them feel a sense of grief or a sense of loss. That's one of the classic feelings for someone who's got a hybrid child, because they're picked up and taken at a young fetus size and then taken on board craft. The interesting thing is, I've met hundreds of women that have had hybrid children. I'm not always been aware of it other than having these pregnancies. And many of them have ultimately remembered going on board craft and seeing their hybrid children and knowing that they've got hybrid children there. And I met a wonderful woman in England who told me when I worked with her that one of her jobs on board craft was to help the mothers connect to their hybrid children, because these hybrid children, because they are also got human genes, need to feel the mother's love. And part of the job is to get the human mothers to give them that sense of connection with their hybrid children. But this is a lot more common than people realize. And I remember one lady telling me she was aware of at least 20 pregnancies and she basically said to the beings, I want a break now because you've already had these. I need a break. But sometimes they will only take the genetic material, like the eggs. The same with gentlemen. They may actually give sperm and have been introduced to their hybrid children down the track. They may have no human children, but will be taken on board craft and meet a child that is not quite human and be told this is their child or whatever. And what makes it very compelling is the emotion that goes with it, because emotion doesn't come just from an image or whatever. When something is real, you get the emotion that goes with it. And some men have become very emotional about their hybrid children as well.
I was actually going to ask that in regards to men. We're for the most part, there's generations of we got to be men, okay? We're not allowed to cry. We're not allowed to show emotion. We always got to bite our tongue. And when it comes to something like ET contact, are men more emotional than women when it comes to this because they don't know how to maybe express their emotions?
I wouldn't say they were necessarily more emotional, but certainly they become very emotional. And the interesting thing is some of these men might be single and have no relationship at all, but have sometimes a relationship with a being on board craft where they will have had a hybrid child, for example, and they will feel very connected to that being on board craft. So sometimes it's genetic material, sometimes it's more than that. They've actually had some form of intimacy as well. I mean, this is really, really complex. And one of the most unusual cases I've had recently is a former air hostess in Brazil who's got 4 children. And she explained to me she met one of her hybrid children in a hotel corridor. And she didn't know what it was she was seeing at the time. She saw this little girl who looked about 11 in the corridor as she was going down to breakfast. And she went up to the child and she wanted to find out whether they were lost or needed their mother. And as the child turned round, she could see she was part human, part feline. And she got so freaked out, she thought she was seeing some form of monster and actually ran away. And it wasn't till a few years later when she was taken on board craft, she saw this child again and realized and being shown that she was one of her hybrid children on board craft. And the extra thing to that was her 6-year-old human daughter she saw on board craft playing with her hybrid sister on board craft. And that was quite fascinating.
Wow. Mary Rodwell is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Gary has a question here. He's asking if any of the children you've ever talked to in your research have talked about a big fall through. And the reason why he's asking this is because it's something his daughter has asked him when she was very young. And she said, "Dad, when did you go through the big fall through?"
I haven't heard that term, but my sense is that she's probably talking about a portal of some kind. One of the interesting things I remember a 10-year-old telling me from England that he came through a portal in the sun to be human. So because some of them are aware of other dimensions and are aware that they've come from other dimensions as well. So the fall through sounds as though it may very well have meant a portal of some kind. And one 10-year-old explained to me that he could travel to the 9th dimension. He said the Greys can only travel to the 6th dimension, but he said he's able to travel to the 9th dimension. But he also talked about going through portals to various planets as long as he knew their mathematical number, which I interpreted as a frequency. So if he knew their mathematical number, he could go through portals to the particular planet, for example. So I suspect that might mean a portal.
Are they taking children for the sake of trying to enhance them, enlighten them, give them more download abilities to be more open-minded to what fully is out there? Or are they taking them strictly because they want to, have that contact from such a young age up until that person is no longer necessary?
That's a good question, Dave. What I will quote you something that Dr. William Brown, a molecular biologist, he wrote to me in 2010 in his understanding of these new kids. And what he's saying is here. The exponential increase in autistic, ADD, and Indigo children, they have new genetic architecture, which allows them to see the world in a multidimensional fashion. He said, I believe research would show dormant genetic regions are being reintegrated into the biological systems and occurring in all of us to produce expanded awareness. Their brains work faster. They have access to more information in the beginning. In the classroom, learning is much faster than normal. I believe they know what is being taught, and these genetic modifications are occurring right now in utero, producing new humans. So we've got an upgrade biological system here both on a physical level, but a multidimensional one, which means they access more of their multidimensional information through the quantum hologram, whatever name you want to call the matrix, consciousness, whatever name you want to give that. So they have access to all of that, but they're also assisted by these intelligences through these space schools, as I call them. And in fact, Whitley Strieber talked about the secret school in one of his books. I know he got a lot of hassle over that. People didn't want to believe it. But many of these children talk about going to space schools and being shown various ways of understanding the true origin of the species, how to use their mind, their intuition to bilocate, levitate, use telepathy. A couple of the children told me that they can actually interact with the elements, for example. I mean, and some of them have told me, one 8-year-old particularly, that he could communicate with animals, and he's here to help us to understand the consciousness of animals and to treat them with respect, for example, because of what he understands and connects to. So this is the hyper awareness. Some of it is coming in with their genetic makeup, the activation more of their DNA, but also they're assisted by these non-human intelligences they've connected to that may be their star ancestry.
Mary, we just have a little bit of breaking news here, if you don't mind me just quickly jumping in here. In light of the announcement today from MUFON that Jan Harzan had been arrested back on July 30th, we're going to talk more about this at the top of the hour here. I just want to quickly read a statement that just got released from MUFON's board of directors. It came down literally 1 minute ago. It reads like this. A statement from the MUFON Board of Directors. In light of recent events, Jan Harzan has been permanently removed as the executive director of the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON. Effective immediately, he will no longer serve any role in the organization. David McDonald, Executive Director Emeritus and a member of the MUFON Board of Directors, will now assume the duties of Executive Director. MUFON remains committed to its core mission, the study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity. This mission is greater than any one person or member of MUFON and supersedes all other considerations. We will continue to move forward and focus on our mission statement. Now, they're not saying too much there, all right? They're not saying too much. However, we had to release that. I will be talking a little bit more about this coming up at 11 o'clock Pacific. That would be 1 a.m. Eastern time, so just stay tuned for that. Sorry about that. Let's continue on with our chat here. All right. Mary, in regards to the way that people have their experiences, the way that we hear about them, we don't see a lot of ethnic communities coming out very publicly about this. And this leads to Greco's question. Are there any of these hybrid children ethnic of any race or culture?
Absolutely. The only problem with the way that we do the research in a lot of the groups is that because unless it's an English-speaking country, we're not so aware of what's going on in other countries. When I was in Brazil, and I was there twice, for example, it was amazed at the number of indigenous Brazilians and what have you. They're very open and have contactee experiences, for example, have talked about some incredible experiences over there. They're quite used to seeing ovnis, for example, as well. But what's fascinating, too, is I've had information coming from as far afield as China, where I've had researchers from there send me information about some of the China, it would be a Chinese farmer. They often say an uneducated Chinese, as though somehow or other that makes it. I think that makes it, what that says to me is they're less programmed often, they're more likely to be open to their experiences. But I've had some from Africa send me information. The interesting thing with Australia, and I was actually mentioning Australia a lot, because what we've discovered in a recent conference that I did with what's happening next in the indigenous understanding of this with the Aborigines, for example, they have they've talked a lot about the Wandjina and the Mamu, for example, And I have this wonderful, wonderful picture, for example, of spacecraft with beings in green suits that I've shown many, many times. And this picture was given to an experiencer by an Aboriginal artist. And she said, life on the stars beyond the Milky Way, the indigenous Australian connection with the Seven Sisters. And what this artist said about the picture was, the planet's a half a day's journey. The beings are very friendly and just watch the Aboriginal way of life. They have no guns, spears or weapons. The air on their planet is food. Their green uniforms protect from Earth diseases. These space people speak all languages. And the elders say the space people showed them how to grow food, find water, and showed them how to use amethyst stones for healing. Now, this is the Australian indigenous tribes. And what they've come out with is this year in December, there is what they call the magic box. It's a prophecy that something is going to be activated in December by the Aborigines and by the Pleiadians that the Aborigines know, that's going to activate certain frequencies in terms of what's going to shift this planet's consciousness. And they're calling it the magic box. And it's going to be the 21st of December where it's going to be activated, they say, by the Pleiadians.
Interesting. How many species have you been able to write about from people's experiences?
Too many to count. Many different types of humanoids, and our research shows that the ones most people see are humanoid in our surveys that we did with the free organization. After that, greys. And when people say greys, one lady told me that she was aware of 165 species of grey, for example. So we have to be careful when we pick a grey out and say that they represent everyone else. There are felines, lion beings, lots of different bird-like beings, dolphin-like beings, energy beings, light beings, angelic-type beings. What we're talking about is a lot of different forms, but we also have to understand that some of these interdimensional beings can really make themselves look whatever they choose to. So that, you can't always go in what they look like either, because they may just choose to show you a form that you're comfortable with, rather than seeing that they may look like a mantis, for example, or a lizard-like being, or something that they feel that you might be uncomfortable with, because we are a pretty sensitive race in terms of what each other looks like, unfortunately. So we're very discriminatory, aren't we, on this planet? So they have to be careful what they show you. But the range is, there are so many civilizations out there that I've come to understand that the range is right across the board.
Let's, you know what? I was going to get to an audience question here because I know they are starting to build up a little bit, but unfortunately we only got about 35 seconds before we got to go to break. Mary Rodwell is our guest tonight. However, we are talking MUFON at the top of the hour as well. We will get into that. Mary, I'm just absolutely enthralled. I mean, I would love to see your library. I'm not going to lie. I would love to see your library. And how many times have you had to move floppy disks over to hard drives to now USB sticks? I can just imagine. I could just imagine, Mary, how much information you have. I'm kind of jealous about that. But we'll find out more because we got Mary Rodwell for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. And then we got a jam-packed hour number 3, so stay tuned. Lots more Spaced Out Radio coming up next.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver. the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter @Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate you taking the time. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show and on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, check it on out, because we love your support and we like to support back as well. For the final time tonight, we introduce Mary Rodwell. Now, if ever there was a legend in her field of study, it is Mary. When it comes to ET contact, alien abduction, and everything from Indigo and Star Children to people who are not knowing they are being taken by aliens, she is the one you go to. She is probably, in my opinion, top 2, 3 in the world when it comes to this study, and you can find her books on Amazon, all over major bookstores, television shows, documentaries, movies. There isn't anything that she doesn't do with this field, because she is that highly wanted. Mary, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio.
Thank you, Dave.
All right. Questions from our audience here, if you don't mind, because we got a couple of them that I wanted to get to. And it's kind of important that we try and include them. Gary is asking, Mary, do you think these interdimensional beings could be simulated?
David, when Gary, my answer to you is I'm not sure what you mean by simulated. I do believe, and I'll give you the full panorama of what I think we're being accessed by in our consciousness. The real solid extraterrestrials, the interdimensionals, the extra-dimensionals, the transdimensionals, visitors from our future, and some talk about ultra-terrestrials as well. So what we're talking about is different frequencies of awareness, if you like. And so when you say whether or not they can, I think they can manifest what they choose to manifest, which fits in with our consciousness. I think that's what many of them are doing. So some may appear just like a hologram, I suspect, as well. The only way you can find out is when you actually talk to them and communicate with them, and then you can ask these kinds of questions.
Interesting. All right. So how do we know if we're dealing with aliens or interdimensionals? Because I'll be honest with you, as an experiencer, I have no idea how to tell the difference.
Well, they're solid. The extraterrestrials that are working in matter in the way that we do are similar vibration to us. You know, they're the ones that, you know, have the more solid craft, for example, and are picking you up from a very physical perspective. But there are those that come in craft that are pure energy, pure light, for example. And I think some of the pictures that you see of these craft just as light, they're coming through portals from other dimensions, for example, as well. The only way that you can know is if you're able to feel or touch one of them or talk to them. And this is where we're going. I believe we're being assisted to reach a level where we are actually going to communicate telepathically. I think that's what many of them do. And that's where I think we're being assisted to reach that level of heightened frequency that we can actually communicate, ask them, you know, where they're from and what is their connection to us and why they're interacting with us, and everything to programs and agendas. And a lot of people who are having encounters do exactly that. They get to a point where they're comfortable with their contacts and they ask questions, and many of them feel very connected to the beings, whether or not they're more physical from places like the Pleiades or Orion or other planetary systems, or whether they're interdimensional. Really and truly, it's an intelligence that chooses to connect with you for some reason, for some purpose.
All right, let's get to Davy's question. He is asking, are the crystal skulls alien in origin or advanced human machining, in your opinion?
Okay, the crystal skulls, what I will tell you, an interesting bit of testimony from a young lady I met in Melbourne who told me she remembers a past life when she was on Atlantis, and she said she was a researcher and she had her own crystal skull, which she said was what researchers used to use almost like a hard drive to transfer research into the skull, into the crystal that was the same shape as their own skull, and they would download that information into the skull like it's a hard drive, if you like. And that was one of the things she told me, that when she was aware of Atlantis going down, she recalls the actual moment when it did, and she describes it in details. Her name's Lee Capitelli, and Lee told me that she would love to find her crystal skull. So if we can go along with that, and many people I know have been able to connect to crystal skulls and download information from them. So it does suggest to me that the crystal acts as a kind of storage unit. And whether or not some of them are ET, I wouldn't be in the least surprised, because many of the gods of past times were ET, and no doubt they would have had similar kinds of technology, I suspect.
Fitness Girl is asking, is communication done telepathically between all different races of aliens?
I can't say for definite that that's the case. We do know that certain extraterrestrial species are able to speak our languages, and we know some of them are on this planet walking around amongst us, and they're quite able to vocalize different languages, etc., etc. But many of the, from what I've gathered, the optimum way of communication is telepathy, and that the understanding from my research is that's where we're headed as a species, and that's why many of the children are aware of having telepathic abilities and tapping into this. And this is not just the generations from 2000. There are many older starseeds that have told me when they were a child they were able to tap into the thoughts of others, for example, until it became very uncomfortable to do so. I remember a 13-year-old girl telling me that when her teacher's talking, she said it was very uncomfortable because what she was saying and what she was thinking was different, and what she was thinking wasn't very nice, and she'd rather not know about it. So that's the downside of being telepathic.
Philip is asking, if you have Asperger's and or ADHD, how do you know if you might be part alien or indigo?
Well, that's a good question. I do know that from my research that many of the new generations of human have these labels, for example. But this is something that either you've seen craft in the skies, or you've had a feeling of presences around you. For example, that's another one, or waking up at night and wondering whether there's a presence there, or feeling you can't move, for example, always feeling different, feeling like you never belonged, feeling like you've come here with a mission or a purpose, having dreams where you feel you've been on spacecraft, for example, as well. And there's also what I call a knowing, and with a sensing and a feeling that resonates with you on some level. And what's happening with the dormant DNA that's ET, the ET aspect of us, is being activated now. So people are starting to, as it gets activated, they're starting to say, I really feel I'm from somewhere else. I feel like I might be from Orion or the Pleiades or Arcturus. And the understanding is as your DNA is being activated, that aspect of your ET DNA is being activated. And that's why you get that sense that you're from somewhere else.
All right, let's get back to, let's get back to Star Children here for a second. Gary is asking, Mary, if the Star Children know when they are in the presence of other Star Children.
Yeah, it's a good question. And yes, they do. They do sense that. And older generations of starseeds, I've met many educators, teachers, and and psychologists that are star seeds that will say that when the children come in the room, they'll know the ones that are more awake. They will sense it from their energy, and they will want to operate differently with them or interact differently with them because they know they're more sensitive. They're inclined to see more of what you are. And I always remember this 9-year-old telling me when I was talking to his father, he asked if he could speak with me. And I said, so what is it that why do you want to speak to me? And he says, well, Mary, it's because of your frequency. It wasn't that you looked a nice lady or I felt safe talking to you. It was because of my frequency. So there's a whole new language in terms of their awareness and their understanding. So yes, you can tell others that have had experiences. And I'll be quite honest with you, I often can tell when I talk to somebody whether or not they've had experiences. There's something about their energy, their frequency, the way that they speak. You start to pick up and get to know which ones are more awake or have had these experiences. And I'm sure, Dave, you've had a feeling or a sense of that yourself with certain people.
I wish. But over time, you can tell. You can tell.
That's right. There's a kind of energy about someone. And I've often teased a few people that I've met for the first time in a group or whatever at a conference. And I've said to them, so where are you from? And I've taken them by surprise, and they'll suddenly say the Pleiades and then look at me in surprise. But that's what I've wanted to get from them, is that sense that they know they're already from there. Because there's just something about them that, that sense that you get about. And I'll just know, and I'll trick them into it. I'll just spontaneously just say that. And they'll say, and then they realize what they've just said. And I said, yeah, I thought so. And I just chuckle. So it is a frequency, and many star seeds, as they wake up, will sense it in others as well. And they'll know that they can open up to them.
Mary, one of the things that grinds my gears about people who make these extraordinary claims, if they have contact, is they're always from Pleiades, they're always Lyran, they're always, Anunnaki. We never hear, and they're from, the Orion constellation, or they're from Venus or Mars or wherever. We never hear of anybody who is from some far distant planet that's been named or dubbed like XO2369AB-Q or anything like that. I'm making up a name, but scientists are finding these exoplanets all over the place. We always hear the popularity, and it reminds me a lot of near-death experiencers, or people who recall their past lives. They were always somebody famous. They were Cleopatra. They were, King Tutankhamun. They were never the peasant who was suffering from lupus, farming in ancient Greece or something along those lines. Do you see what I'm saying there? Why when it comes to ET people or contactees, do we never have that, or rarely do we have that person who is from a different species, a different planet, or somewhere we have never heard of?
Well, that's probably, Dave, because you've not covered enough ground. And, when you're talking about hundreds of people, I've heard people mention planets that we don't know of, not only in this galaxy or other galaxies, but other dimensions. For example, I'm talking to one lady who I know very well that says she's from the 13th dimension, and she's just form, she's just consciousness, for example, and is a walk-in soul, for example. So no, they're not all coming from the Pleiades necessarily at all. And as the 10-year-old talked about coming through a portal in the sun from another dimension. So that might be the ones that you've heard of. But there are many others that they will say to me, it's a planet you don't know yet, and it's in this galaxy or whatever. So that's one thing. And regarding past lives, actually, there's very few that say they're Napoleon Bonaparte or they're Queen Elizabeth I or whatever. Most do live very ordinary lives and describe their ordinary lives. I mean, I do hundreds of past lives, as well as taking people to their origins of other planets and what have you, where they may just be an ET form. I remember one graphic designer telling me that he talked about being this grey ET, and he was moving something big from one dimension to the other. And then he said, it's a planet. he said, and we've moved it too quickly, and we now have to sort out its energy fields. So, what you've heard is probably just a very small smidgen of what you're hearing from people saying they're from these different places. And often they'll say the ones that people know rather than there's others they come from, just like the 10-year-old that told me he came from a planet where he was a blue being and it had no name as such, but he drew himself and what he looked like on that planet as well. So there is the vastness that's there, but you need to have the numbers to actually get a little bit more credibility to that side of you. So, I mean, it's understandable you would say that, but you need to work with a lot more people to get the variety that we're talking about.
All right, let's move on. We got a couple more questions here, and we only got 7.5 minutes left with you tonight. Mary Rodwell is our guest. Joe is asking, and I love this question because he's got aliens. He doesn't like to admit it, but he's got aliens, Mary. And he is asking how many of the animals that we see in the forest, like owls or deer, are actually aliens disguised checking up on us?
Oh, I love that one, Joe. Yes, the owl is a very common screen for an ET, and many have seen owls outside the window, or this strange owl in the middle of the road as they're going along at night, and something strange about the owl or whatever. The screens of owls, Santa Claus, skeletons, wolves with big eyes, often they'll use a screen like that, but behind that screen, if you do hypnosis, you'll find there's usually a little grey dude that's hiding itself because you're not ready to see it. And the phobia of clowns, for example, is one of the common ones for people who have had ET experiences, because often they'll show themselves as a clown as well as an owl or some other creature. But there's usually the big eyes and they don't look quite right, and they're in a strange situation that gives you a clue they may not be what they appear to be.
All right, let's move on to Jenny's question. Does meditation help raise your frequency and open up to more knowing about contact?
Jenny, you're absolutely right. And it's one of the many ways you can raise your frequency. Others will find that they start to have contact after an out-of-body experience or a near-death experience, for example. Shamanic experiences can often raise your frequency, for example, on healing. Different energetic healing work can do it as well. Meditation, of course, is another one that can do that. Sometimes even the hallucinogens, like ayahuasca, can activate that awareness as well, or Kundalini awakening. All of these can create a new frequency, a higher frequency, where you see more and more of the dimensions and the beings, from the angelic beings right through to non-human intelligences.
All right. John is asking, can you ever describe a time where somebody tried to pull the rug over your eyes and you were actually fooled by the information they were getting, but in reality they were just posers?
I'll tell you this, and I've said this a lot on ordinary media. Most of the time, if people have spent a lot of money to come and see me or traveled a long way to see me, they haven't come to tell me a load of rubbish. They've come because it's real. I don't get the time wasters, because most of them, I'm not going to make them famous. I'm not going to pay them a lot of money to tell me their story. So, that doesn't actually happen. I haven't yet met anyone who's put on a show to try and convince me of something. I mean, it may still happen, but most people that spend the time and energy to communicate with me and tell me their story is because it matters to them and they're putting themselves out to do so. As I say, I'm not going to make them famous. I'm not going to give them money. So why would they do that?
I guess that makes sense. I guess that makes complete sense. But there are people out there who will do anything, though, Mary, and I'm sure you've run into them throughout your years, that are looking for their 15 minutes of fame. They think they're going to get a movie out of this, or a documentary, or a few radio interviews.
There's very few that are genuine, that actually that's not what they're looking for at all. What they're looking for is just someone to listen and to honor their experiences. And many of them would rather not have any exposure whatsoever, for lots of different reasons, depending on their background and professional life, et cetera, et cetera. So this is for me, most people will not waste their time telling me their story and going into any detail. To be quite honest, Dave, I'd soon know if it wasn't real, because there's so many things around experiences that I know about that are not in books. So I would pick them out very, very easily if they did try it.
All right. I like this question from Fitness Girl, and it always seems to come back to this. What do you think the government's involvement is, if there is any, regarding this topic?
The government involvement is huge. And that is the biggest issue I've got, is that because there is a truth embargo on all of this, and has been for 80 years or whatever, what it's meant is so many millions of people out there are questioning their sanity because the government doesn't own the truth, and the fact they know fully well that we're being visited by a multitude of different intelligences and that this is real. And the problem is that because of that, so many people are ending up in hospital or medicated because they're seen as though they're crazy, or there's something wrong with them. And that actually is the biggest issue I have, let alone the technology that they have that we're not being given, that they know about, and the free energy and the healing technology and what have you. So there's no doubt that it's hidden because of various agendas. And these agendas are generally about just those for the few, the elite that want to have it all to themselves. I've got a real issue with that, as you probably gathered.
I can tell. I can almost hear you. You're firing up a little bit. What's the big secret, though? Is it technology? Is it the military-industrial complex? What's your thoughts on that as we got about 2 minutes to go?
It's all of that. But the one for me, working as a therapist, is the damage it's done to the psyche of so many millions of people who've questioned their sanity and have been treated as crazy simply because they have talked about having their ET encounters. My big issue is that, and it's about time our psychology was changed to incorporate multidimensionality and the truth comes out, because then these people can actually own who and what they are.
So with that being said, do you believe that there are aliens in contact with governments right now?
Absolutely. Some of them may be less benevolent than others from what I've heard, but I still don't know enough to say that. All I know is that certainly the governments know about it, and they've certainly, one of the counts that I heard from one of the whistleblowers was they'd picked up about 70-something odd craft over the years, for example. So they've got more than just the technology. They've even got programmed life forms of greys and reptilians, for example, in underground bases in England and the States. For that, I certainly am aware of. And these programmed life forms are not ET, but they look ET because they've just cloned them. And they're what people believe sometimes are real ETs as well. So there's a big rabbit hole with this one, Dave, and you need another session, a good half an hour for me to talk about that.
Oh, yes. Well, we can do it again, though. We can totally do it again if you want.
Well, if people are interested, there's a lot more of the darker side of this that the government's needs to be exposed, because, and this is what they're afraid of, is once people realize man's inhumanity to man is a lot more worrying than any extraterrestrial intervention in my book.
I appreciate that. Mary Rodwell, I want to say thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. I really do appreciate you taking the time to join us, and we definitely will bring you back because, like I said right off the top of the show, I think you're a legend in this field, and I think you are a very special person for everything that you've done to help experiencers.
Thank you, Dave. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much. Mary Rodwell, everybody. And, of course, you can find her books online on places like Amazon. You can find them in major bookstores. Find her work on YouTube, all over the internet. She's all over the place because she is that damn good. We'll be back talking MUFON next on Spaced Out Radio to kick off Hour 3.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best-rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio kicks off right now here on the Mighty SOR. Thank you so much for joining us. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and on the digital side on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. When Tangenimo, I'm going to butcher this again. Witten Agimo. I don't know how to pronounce this one. I'll be honest with you. I suck at this one. But the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. All right, we're going to get right into this here because there was some breaking news in the field of ufology today. And we definitely need to talk about this because for anybody who has seen a UFO, reported a UFO, been an experiencer like we were just talking about with Mary Rodwell, you know, it's difficult when we hear of these situations, and we don't like to kick people when they're down around here, but this affects the entire UFO world. As you know, this is a subject that we are continually clamoring for any type of respectability, any type of, you know, respect that we want from the mainstream public. And that's why so many have been hot to trot when it comes to the TTSA and the way they have been able to get the mainstream media paying attention to this subject for a long, long time. But today, it's not good news, everyone. It's not good news because this involves MUFON. Now, MUFON, over a lot of time, has, over, let's say, the last 13 years, has had a lot of controversies. A lot of controversies. And we'll get into some of them tonight. But I've been able tonight to talk to a couple of, or this today, to talk to a couple of board members. And they are shocked. And I think the entire UFO world is shocked. So today on Facebook, the Huntington Beach, California Police Department released a statement. And I'm going to read this. This is right off their Facebook page, everyone. In the past 2 weeks, detectives from the Huntington Beach Police Department's Special Enforcement Bureau have arrested 2 suspects on 2 separate incidents involving online crimes against children. On July 3rd, detectives contacted a male by the name of Jan Harzan after Harzan solicited sexual activity from a detective he believed was a 13-year-old girl. The The suspect solicited the minor to meet for the purpose of engaging in sexual activity, and when the suspect agreed to meet the supposed minor, detectives were able to take him into custody. On July 8th, detectives contacted a different male by the name of Norman Powers after Powers also solicited sexual activity from the detective posing as a 13-year-old girl, and also arranged to meet for the purpose of sexual activity. Once he arranged a meet, detectives contacted him and determined he was there to engage in sexual activity with a minor. Both Harzan and Powers were arrested for multiple felonies and transported to the Huntington Beach jail. Both of the suspects in these cases were specifically targeting minor females online. This is a great opportunity for us, as in the police department, to remind anyone who has a minor child with access to the internet, predators are out there and they are looking for victims. Please take the time to talk to your children about the dangers of talking to strangers online. This could range from social media apps, they all have instant or direct messaging, gaming, chat rooms that seem innocent, or even ads that predators post online to solicit children for sex. This may seem obvious to adults, but many children do not know what lurks out there on the web, and it's up to parents and guardians to make them aware. For further information about internet safety, please check out the Los Angeles Internet Crimes Against Children's page, and they leave a website. So, Jan Harzan is the head of MUFON, or was the head of MUFON. All right, so there was an article that was written by Vice Magazine by MJ Benias and Anne Merlan, okay? And we're going to read a little bit of this, and we credit Vice.com for this. The executive director of the Mutual UFO Network, one of the oldest UFO research organizations in the United States, has been arrested on charges of soliciting a minor for the purpose of engaging in sexual activity. Jan Harzan, who has headed MUFON since 2013, is accused of soliciting sexual activity from a detective he believed was a 13-year-old girl, according to a release. In recent years, the UFO research world has been flooded with Pizzagate-esque allegations, falsely linking scientific and government elites to the occult sexual abuse of children and accusing the government of releasing UFO videos to cover up pedophile rings. Harzan's arrest is almost certain to reignite those controversies. Court records show that Harzan was arrested on charges of communicating with a minor with the intent to engage in a lewd act, as well as arranging a meeting to engage with a lewd act with a minor in public. Harzan, MUFON, and the Huntington Beach Police Department did not immediately respond for comment at the time of printing. So, this is, they go into the role that we just read off to you from the Huntington Beach Police Department. And MUFON's role, by the way, in the UFO world is massive. The organization was founded in 1969 in Quincy, Illinois, to track citizen sightings of UFOs. They claim to still hold the world's largest and most detailed database of UFO sightings. The organization has worked closely with government contractors, including Bigelow Aerospace, which received money from the federal government to investigate unidentified aerial phenomena. According to documents reviewed by Motherboard, Bigelow Aerospace paid MUFON to make technical reports on characteristics often described in UFO incidents. Bigelow Aerospace also offered MUFON funding to put together the STAR team, a UFO investigation team that could be on site within 24 to 48 hours of a UFO incident. Now back to Harzan for a minute. Harzan is a former IBM engineer who, when he was a kid, was visited by a real UFO no more than 30 feet from him and his brother, with no visible means of propulsion other than making a humming noise before shooting off over the horizon. This event profoundly changed their lives. And so we'll get into a few other things here regarding this. MUFON has now released a statement, and I read it about an hour ago on the show, but I'm going to reread it to all of you, okay? Because I think it's that darn important. Let me just pull it up here. All right, statement from the MUFON Board of Governors. Now, what I know about this before I read this, when the news came down this afternoon, I have a couple of friends on the MUFON Board of Governors. I'm not going to mention their names right now, all right, because it's not really relevant or important. And in contact with them, they were both blown away. I was told by both of them, along with a couple of other non-MUFON members who are in the know in the UFO field, that the entire board of governors or board of directors of MUFON knew nothing of this. In fact, this incident with Jan Harzan happened, as I said, on July 3rd. Harzan did allegedly not tell a soul in MUFON and continued with his day-to-day workload, including having phone calls with members about upcoming events, filming, documentaries, television shows. He was very much involved up until this news came down today. I mean, this is a sick man. How do you get arrested for something like this and not tell the people you work for? Now, is it arrogance? Is it embarrassment? One of the two. It's all it can be. However, up until today, nobody knew. Now, a lot of people out there will play the conspiracy theory, stating, oh, they must have known. It's been almost 2 weeks. However, the people I talk to, I trust, because I talk to them often. And when they tell me, and you could hear the emotion, you know, even though we weren't talking, you can still hear and feel the emotion in their words through a text message. You could tell. You could tell that they were feeling very beat up and very hurt. This is someone that is trusted, has been trusted as the leader of this group since 2013. All right? And nobody knew, allegedly. Now, if somebody knew from MUFON, they need to effectively resign immediately. They have to. And I really hope that MUFON takes the time to do an internal investigation, which they haven't said that they're going to, but I hope they do. So the statement that they released here about an hour ago now reads like this. Statement from the MUFON Board of Directors. In light of recent events, Jan Harzan has been permanently removed as the executive director of the Mutual UFO Network, otherwise known as MUFON. Effective immediately, he will no longer serve any role in the organization. David McDonald, Executive Director Emeritus and a member of the MUFON Board of Directors, and will now assume the duties of Executive Director. MUFON remains committed to its core mission, the study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity. This mission is greater than any one person or member of MUFON and supersedes all other considerations. We will continue to move forward and focus on our mission statement. Now, I asked one of the persons on the board of directors who sent me this statement, and I asked him, I said, David is not going to be on the interim? David McDonald, this is. And it was suggested, he said it was suggested that in the meetings, because they had an emergency meeting today, they had to, okay, that they didn't want to use the term interim, but they would be looking for a permanent replacement at some point moving forward. You know, I mean, here's the other thing we have to also remember, all right? I know that there is a lot of criticism, and probably well-deserved criticism, of MUFON over the last 13 years, and we'll get into some of that here, okay? But this isn't about bashing them. There are good people who work for the Mutual UFO Network, whether they're on the board of directors, whether they are investigators, whether they are state directors, whether they are country directors like MUFON Canada. All right? We have to be careful when something like this happens. We have to be careful not to throw everybody in one basket. All right? Jan's a rotten egg. Jan Harzan is a rotten egg. Anybody who preys on children deserves to be locked up. Okay? And when they get out, if they get out, deserves to wear the tag. Okay? The scarlet letter that shows everybody that they are a predator. Because that's what he is. He's a predator. He's a sickening predator. All right? That's if he's proven guilty. Because, unfortunately, in the court of law, it's still innocent until proven guilty. However, in public opinion, I think we all know. Right? But we have to remember this. It's easy to shame MUFON right now. It's easy to shame the board of directors, and they are going to have to do an internal investigation to see if anybody else knew about this. They're going to have to. They have no choice. They're not going to do it publicly because that's not how businesses, corporations, or societies are run. All right? But we can't lump everybody in. You can't lump a state director from Idaho or New Jersey or Ontario or wherever, okay, in with this and automatically accuse them of these horrid, horrid actions. We can't do that. We have to be smarter. We have to realize that there are bad apples out there. There are bad seeds out there. Jan Harzan is one of them. You know? And, you know, looking back on everything, it's understandable now why he never appeared on this show. He always dodged our requests because he didn't want to answer any tough questions. Questions about selling information to Bigelow Aerospace. He didn't want to answer any tough questions regarding in 2018 when former MUFON State Director John Ventry made racist comments about African Americans on his Facebook page, stating that white Americans were experiencing a white genocide. Harzan did not even condemn Ventry publicly, but instead expressed his concern for the new social media world we now live in, and stated everyone should engage in open dialogue by writing. He went on to say there is no justice in hate, no matter what side of the fence you are on. On that, we can all agree. MUFON eventually withdrew Harzan's comments, according to Vice, from its website, and Ventry was removed from his position when public pressure mounted. There is also word that Ventry, deep in behind the scenes, may still be funding some East Coast MUFON events. Then just last month, head of MUFON Rhode Island, Ken Pfeiffer, posted racist memes on his Facebook during the height of the Black Lives Matter protests, saying, "Holy crap," except to use a swear word, "I would have picked their cotton for them if I thought it would end this BLM racist madness. This is just absurd and crazy." Yet he wasn't removed from his position. Harzan did nothing. Nothing. Did nothing with Ventry until the public pressure. Did nothing with Pfeiffer. All right? And this is something that a lot of people are concerned about. MUFON needs a leader. And we as experiencers, we as people who have witnessed UFOs, need a leader in regards to cleaning up this mess. MUFON has no choice but to clean this up. Tomorrow night on the show, I'm actually going to be changing it from Ghosts of the Great White North. We're going to be changing that to a special on MUFON. And we're going to go over. It's not going to be a jumping down their throats type of show. I don't want that. I'm going to bring in some UFO people, some legal people, all right, reporters, journalists, real journalists, not fake ones. Okay, and we're going to have a talk about this and how this is going to affect the UFO field. Because as of right now, MUFON is moving at minute by minute. They have no idea which way is up right now. No idea which way is up. And they have to clean up their act. They have to get rid of the racists, the homophobic people. All right? They have to do this. There is no choice. When you are a society of people who are coming together under one banner. You need everybody. Color, religion, sexual orientation means nothing. Nothing. And I believe that the board and the board members, especially my two friends on this board, okay, I know they believe that. Okay? I know they believe that. MUFON doesn't need to be a punching bag. They've been a punching bag for a long time. That's because, in my opinion, it's weak leadership. All right? And no matter what, whether it's the racist comments by Pfeiffer or by Ventry, okay, they needed to be removed immediately. And I know one of the board members, who's a friend of mine, is the one who brought up Pfeiffer's comments to Harzan. And yes, Harzan eventually removed him. My apologies. I thought they didn't, but they did. Okay? It's got to be dealt with. And unfortunately, this is what happens when, a big group gets together. There's always a bad seed. So my advice to everybody, where right now, and look, I have beat the tar out of MUFON over the last few years. I have. And my one of my friends on the board has come at me about it, and well deserved. We've had some very, very heated discussions, not arguments, heated discussions about it. And there are times we've agreed to disagree. But you know what? I don't think that MUFON should die. I don't think it should. They're on life support right now. They know that. But I think what they need to do is when they go to find a new leader, they need, in my opinion only, they need to find somebody from outside who can run a business, who has ran a business before, and can bring this mess, turn over every rock, and look underneath it and see what's hiding. It's going to be a tough task. It's going to take years, at least a couple of years, to clean this up. But they've worked too hard, and there's too many high-quality investigators and people who not only volunteer their time, but pay their time in order to clean this up. Okay? We can't crap on people who are not directly involved in this. All the fault, 100% of the fault, falls on Jan Harzan. It doesn't fall on the other board of directors unless they knew about it. And like I said, MUFON, I'm pretty sure, is going to do an internal investigation. All right? It doesn't fall on the members, people like you and me who may hold membership. I do not. For clarity's sake, I do not. All right? But you can't punish those just because they wear the MUFON tag. Hate the man, and we can all dislike Jan Harzan right now. And we should. Okay? For what he did. And we're glad he was caught. Great work by the Huntington Beach Police Department in California. Thank you for doing that. Big credit. But remember, there's human beings with MUFON who have nothing to do with this. Nothing. And we have to remember that. Now, whether MUFON ends, it's to be seen. Whether they continue, they better find a very strong leader who can upturn every rock and look in every corner, crook, and cranny to make sure that everything is on the up and up. Get rid of the racists, get rid of people who are phobic against other people, and clean it up. And I think that that's what will happen. At least I hope. We'll have more on a special show tomorrow night about this topic, and I hope you all tune in. It will be very, very informative to all of you because from a lot of people on this end, we do have a lot of friends at MUFON. Okay, and we want to make sure that we get you the right information, the proper information. Coming up next, we're going to join Shane, who's filling in for Drex in Vancouver. We'll get to the SOR Newswire and the thought of the day, a jam-packed final half hour of Spaced Out Radio coming up right after this.
cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from vans to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night, where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, you could check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and of course on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, in just a moment, we're going to hook up with Vancouver, and we are going to go right across the world. Hey, Shane, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. We are anxiously looking to change the topic because we've been talking about burgers and the best burger toppings here on the shift, and some of our listeners are very hungry because of it, so they're looking forward to some Spaced Out Radio talk.
Oh, my friend, you don't understand how much I like a good burger. I love a good burger. Oh, I go.
John, we're going to talk about this for 1 second more.
Yeah, I like fresh vegetables like lettuce, tomato, mushrooms. Got to have onions. I'm not a ketchup or a relish guy or a mustard guy on burgers. I like some mayonnaise. Good hearty cheese. Up here where I live in 100 Mile House, British Columbia, there's a restaurant here called the Firehouse Grill. They make this burger called Lieutenant Cheese. And this thing has enough cheese to go on like 3 burgers, man. That's a burger. That's a burger.
I made the suggestion to the audience about, do you take your burger patty and then I put a portobello mushroom on top, pre-cooked, with Boursin cheese and bacon in it, and then you put your bun around it? Mind-blowing.
Garlic aioli sauce is also good on a burger. Yeah.
I am not fulfilling my integrity with John and his hunger at work right now.
But you know what? I will say this, if I can end it on this. To me, I'm old school, man. A good burger, you got to be able to hold it up, and the grease has to run onto your fingers. To me, that states a high-quality burger.
All right, there you go. Dave Scott and the good burger analysis right there for you. How are things going in the mystical land of Spaced Out Radio tonight, Dave?
Not bad. We got some stories from you from across Canada, courtesy of Ryan Stacey and Tessa, his group out of Toronto. Tessa stands for the Experiencers Support Association. And what he has done is he has collected a lot of files over the last few months in regards to some of the reports that he has been receiving and investigating from across Canada and even into the United States. Everything from UFOs to these cryptid reptilian-type beings, orbs, ghosts, you name it. It's a little freaky what people are reporting on. And, you have to understand that people who report these, now, I don't have any names, I don't know where they live, and I don't want them because these are all in private that they have told their stories, and we like to keep their identities a little bit quiet. But Ryan is one of the best data researchers with Tessa, and his website is tessacan.org if anybody has a report that they want to file. And if you can't remember tessacan.org, you could go to my website, spacedoutradio.com, and click on what we call the Sightlines report there. It's sponsored by Tessa and Ryan, and they get all the job done. So how would you like to hear a couple of weird stories?
Well, I would like to hear a couple of weird stories because I'm kind of curious, Dave, of how, this group of Canadians talks about maybe some similarities of what we experience in Canada, because I would imagine there are places in the world that have similarities, but there are probably places in the world that have very different experiences too. So I'm curious, where are you taking us here?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, we should mention that a couple of weeks ago with Drex, we put out a challenge, or he put out a challenge to me about getting a hold of different members of Parliament to see what they know on the UFO field. And last week, I was able to report that a total of 0 out of the 9 members of Parliament, 3 from the NDP, 3 from the Liberals, and 3 from the Conservatives, have not responded as of yet to my email. And we are now in week number 2, and I still do not have any responses whatsoever on what they know about Canada's role in ufology, and do we know if UFOs are visiting us? So that is interesting, just to keep your audience a little up to date on that. But let's start with a story here. This comes from a lady out east. She goes, my husband being in the military, once in a while, he would be gone for 6 months overseas. One time he went away. In the morning, I wake up with bruises on my legs, more than usual. They'd be on the same spot on each leg. My husband was worried, concerned how I was getting these. When he left, things turned even worse. She says, I remember I would wake up and sense that extraterrestrials are coming. Not a comfortable feeling. The room turns dark and feels cooler. The walls pitch black. Where the grays came through, they go around my bed. I could still see them move at this time. One pulls off my sheets. I am looking into his large black eyes. They step aside, then I am paralyzed and cannot move. I feel myself floating up and going through the black wall they came in. I wake up in the morning. I feel a burning on my right knee. I touch it. It feels like my skin came off. That painful. I sat up to look at it. I was shocked to see that my entire knee was black from a burn with a small cut, like something sharp gone through my joints of my knee with dried blood on it. My other knee had the same thing. It was painful. I had brown burns on the outside of my arms over my elbows. I had a small black bruises on the middle inside of my legs. I also had 3 small black bruises on the upper inside of my legs. I feel like getting up. I'm going to be sick to my stomach, weak and hot. My throat was dry. I have no appetite. I thought I was going to die. This happened to me 5 times during the 6 months my husband was away serving in the military. How scary is that?
Well, scary enough to move, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, but if you got aliens, my friend, it doesn't matter if you move. They just know. They just know.
I don't know the proper protocol, Dave. I don't know the proper protocol that if the aliens are following you, do you move? Do they just follow you? Like, are you the subject in this scenario, or is this one of those things about, we just need somebody and you're closest? I mean, I don't understand that protocol there.
Well, I think what happens is, a lot of people who have these type of experiences, they don't know where to turn. They can't talk to family because of ridicule. They can't talk to friends. They can't talk to, if they're religious, maybe clergy members or anybody about this. They don't know where to turn. I mean, if you go to a psychologist, all right, they'll just tell you, well, maybe you're having psychotic episodes, maybe you're becoming schizophrenic or something along those lines. And it's not that they feel any different. They're just experiencing something that they cannot understand or comprehend. This is why they reach out to people like Ryan Stacey at Tessa and fill out these reports, because alarmingly, these situations are happening right across Canada and the world. And the only way that people are finding any answers is if you keep collecting data on what has happened. I mean, in the real reports, they will ask you your age. Has it happened in different places where you lived? Is this new? What do you think is causing it? And so on and so forth. And, unfortunately, there aren't a lot of answers. But we do know that the more and more we get into this, that there is weird phenomena happening.
Well, and it only comes to light if you have a safe place to share it. And so that's where that Tessa group is really good, a support association for people who have had these sorts of experiences. So what else? You said stories, so I'm going to take you up on that and tell me more.
Okay, well, let's find a good one here for you. All right. I was in my bedroom and I just put out the lights a few minutes before sleeping when I felt I was being watched. The feeling was extremely intense, where I felt my body heat rise. I wasn't sick this night and had no fever. Then I sat up gasping for air because the intensity felt like something heavy was sitting on my chest. I got out of bed and turned the lights back on. That's when I saw 3 shadows with red eyes staring back at me. I hid back under my covers. I kept saying over and over, "You are not real." Then I looked up again, and they were floating closer towards me. Then I covered myself again, and then said the same thing again. Then I looked again and realized that they were so close to me, my whole room's temperature dropped, and it felt like it was freezing. Then it went back up to boiling hot, then back down again. I kept doing that throughout the whole experience in changing temperatures. They started circling me, and a 4th shadow with red eyes came out from the middle of the 3rd one. When their hands touched my skin, they allowed me to see how they died. They said, "We are real, and this is only the beginning." Oh, doesn't that just put chills down your spine there?
Yeah, it actually literally did give me a chill. Very well written too. I mean, and I think that's kind of cool how when these things go on, it sort of leads to the common storyline of how incredibly present people become in this. I mean, is that one thing that you see in your world, Dave? Is that you see that there becomes this whole other level of presence to this?
Yeah, for a lot of people who've never experienced anything, whether it's a haunting, a UFO experience, running into Sasquatch, who's looking for toilet paper in the forest because we used it all during COVID-19. We have a lot of different scenarios and experiences that people are having. And when it comes to this, the one thing that they all want to have, my friend, is they all want to be believed. You can tell if you've been in this field or investigated or researched this field for long enough, you can tell who's making up a story and who is not. And the people who are looking for that 5, 10, 15 minutes of fame, you can tell their exaggerations in their words. But there's a lot of people who are trying to figure out what is going on. And it could be anywhere. It could be, how many small, old taverns are there across Canada? How many old houses from 100 plus years old from Vancouver straight to Newfoundland are there where strange things could be occurring? Never mind the aliens or Bigfoot in the forest. People just need an outlet where they're going to be believed. And that's what we provide.
That's one of the things that I'm drawn to. And let me ask this as an invitation or a request for you to maybe plant the seed, if you will, to watch for me. And I have this thing about castles. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you're an Akashic Records kind of guy, but I have a thing about castles, and couldn't explain it. I can't explain why I'm so comfortable in them. I can't explain why it just feels grounded and home for me. I can't. But I do know that with some of the mystery of some of these stories, some of those really long lineage sites like that have some incredible stories behind them. Can I ask you to, for upcoming conversations, if you stumble across anything to do with that, can you save those for me?
Absolutely.
And maybe can we share some of those? Because that, to me, man, that's so good.
Oh, yeah. It's absolutely intense, man. When you're walking through an old building, like up here where I live, I used to, we can't right now due to COVID, but do a tour of our local museum to help raise money. And we have got photographs of everything there. And these buildings are 100 plus years old. We've caught photographs of everything there, from an alien standing in a doorway to a ghost horse sticking its head out of one of the horse stalls in the barn, to a gentleman who looks like he's a full-figured apparition, just like a regular human walking up the stairs. It is intense. And, the one thing that I want to tell people is, whether it's paranormal or UFOs, we all have a camera now on our phone. There's very few people who don't. Just take pictures. You never know what you're going to get. Whether you're pointing up at the sky, you're walking around in the forest and you don't see anything or feel anything, but all of a sudden you go back and there's something there. And that's where the mystery starts.
So you said Sasquatch in that last little bit there, and one of the pieces we're about to do is unrelated. We're going to do cars. We're going to do the new Bronco, and it's an amazing vehicle. But they are doing a Sasquatch version of that.
I know.
Does that get a guy like you kind of excited if you can have a Sasquatch version of a Bronco, or is that more of a sacrilege where it's like, nah, not cool?
No, I can tell you right now, I am going to be approaching Ford about sponsoring my show now because they have a Sasquatch Bronco. I have to. I have no choice, but I mean, I think what it does is the more we put these words like Sasquatch, Bigfoot into mainstream conversation, what it does is, believe it or not, people may not like it or not, or realize it, but it puts that topic that when you hear the word Sasquatch, you're not going to think Ford Bronco. You're going to be thinking everything from big hairy men in the wild forests of Ontario or British Columbia or whatever it may be. And then the next thing, when you get one, or for those people who get one, they're going to be saying, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we saw a Sasquatch while in the Sasquatch? And that's how it starts, man. It's going to take more people into the wilderness. It's going to be great.
It is, and it's going to be good. I love it. I can't wait to see some of the rigs that guys come up with this truck. If you're not familiar with the truck, we are going to talk about it coming up. But they're going to be kind of like the Tornado Chaser guys that have some really wicked rigs. There are going to be some amazing, bush rigs with this, which is so good. Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio. Follow the Twitter, get on the website, learn more about it, and especially with Tesacan.org, TESACAN.org. If you have this experience, please share it because the experiences don't, nobody else knows about it unless we share them. So thank you so much, Dave. It's great to talk to you and hear your voice, man.
Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for taking the time with us, and you have a great night. We'll talk to you next week.
You too. Thanks, brother.
Take care. All right, everybody. We're going to continue on because guess what? It's time for Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire, the back end of every show where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the absolute grotesque. We got one story for you tonight before we get to the thought of the day. You ever have a tickle in your throat? Tonsils not feeling very well? Maybe they're hurting, maybe you're just feeling a little yucky. Well, doctors in Japan say they successfully removed a long, thin, moving black worm from a woman's tonsils in a spine-tingling case linked to a piece of bad sashimi. The 25-year-old woman complained of a sore throat a few days after she ate some assorted sashimi, according to the American Journal of Tropical Medicine and Hygiene. Doctors checked her out and found that the cause was not a cold, but a case of tingling throat syndrome. A sort of soft way to say that she had a parasite in her left tonsil. Doctors used tweezers to extract the long black worm from the woman's throat at St. Luke's International Hospital in Tokyo. The worm measured about 1.5 inches long, 1 millimeter wide, and was still very much alive when removed. The symptoms rapidly improved after removing the worm from her tonsils by using tweezers, doctors wrote. The creature was a nematode roundworm, a parasite occasionally found in undercooked fish or meat. The parasite was likely a third-stage larva when consumed, but it had grown into a fourth stage of life by the time it was removed from the woman. The case study authors point out that such incidents are rare, but becoming more widespread, particularly when considering the current popularity of sushi and sashimi. The woman told doctors that she ate sashimi 5 days prior to surgery. She did not say when or if she will ever eat it again. How about a big no to that? No to raw fish. Remember when I said sharks were bad? They want to kill you? Well, guess what? Apparently black worms from sushi and sashimi are the same way. Thought of the Day happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Day is, explain when you think aliens will finally reveal themselves to mankind. Shanna I think of it more in terms of they have already. It's just that some men don't want that information shared with the rest of humankind. We live in a society of secrets held by a few from the many. Nathan, as a society here on Earth, never. We are the display, the control group, the experimented upon, the menagerie. They talk to certain ones, but will never reveal themselves to us as a society. It is up to us to find them. Marty, one of our favorite veterans who listens to this show, and we love our veterans around here. Thank you for serving, Marty. They already have, but nobody listened to them. Yeah, it's pretty much easy, just like that. Graham, only thought an executive order, I think, at this stage. Canadian Joe, if you look around the state of the world at present, why would they? Could say the same thing about your hockey team there in Toronto. Canadian Joe. Hope. I don't know. I guess it was 2010 when I did that. Your doubt is offensive to me at this point. Okay, I didn't realize I had doubt. Ronnie, do you mean they haven't? Who were those guys then? William, they're only coming to announce they are leaving. Juan, I don't think the aliens even care about us. To them, we're just an ant farm. Peter, they can't hold back on the Greek food anymore. They want the world to know it. Opa! Oh, yeah, Peter has a Greek restaurant just outside of Toronto somewhere. He won't tell me where it is or the name, but I would definitely go there if I was out east. Definitely. Thank you to everybody taking part in today's Thought of the Day, abbreviated and all. We will do it all again tomorrow on Twitter and on Facebook, so make sure you check it on out. Also, a big thank you to Captain Shirk for the abbreviated worm going into someone's tonsils. You can find all of the news at the SOR Newswire on our website and on our Facebook page, SOR Newswire. Go give that a like as well if you don't mind. And, of course, we say a big thank you to legendary researcher Mary Rodwell for coming on the first 2 hours of the show to talk all about E.T. contact and Star Children. That was just absolutely amazing. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everybody participating in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, Spreaker, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the SOR Space Travelers Club on our website, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio, hanging out with all the snarkers and snarkettes. You did a good job tonight, everyone. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Remember, everybody, the Woo train may have parked for the night, but tomorrow we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, there's room for them too. Good night.